In this video, we will be talking about adding and subtracting rational numbers. We'll be working with fractions, and we'll also be working with decimals. Sometimes our fractions have common denominators, and sometimes they have different denominators, and we're going to look at both examples. Starting with fractions. The key is that you must have a common denominator. Remember that denominator is the number at the bottom of the fraction. So those numbers, or that number at the bottom of the fraction, has to be the same on both fractions in order to add or subtract. Let's look at some examples. Example A, we have 2/5 plus 1/5. The denominators are the same, so we simply just add the numerator. 2 plus 1 is 3, so the answer is 3/5. Example B, very similar, except that it's a subtraction problem. We have 7/8 is a fraction minus 3/8. The denominator is the same of 8, so we subtract 7 minus 3 and we get 4/8. Now we always reduce our fractions, so 4/8 is the same as saying 1/2, so our simplified answer is 1/2. Now let's look at a problem that does not have a common denominator. We have 2/3 plus 3/4. You'll notice that 3 and 4 are different. So what we have to do is find a common denominator, and the way that you do that is to find the least common multiple. Let's start with the first denominator of 3. The multiple of 3 is 3, 6, 9, 12, and 15. And the multiples of 4, it's 4, 8, 12, 16, and so on. And you will see the first number that we get to that is common is the 12. That makes 12 the least common multiple. Sometimes you can find that by multiplying the two denominators together, 4 times 3, and you get 12. Let's continue this problem. I've written them vertically, 2/3 plus 3/4. What we're going to do is we're going to change the denominator to 12. So here for 2/3, to get from 3 to 12, we multiply times 4. So we're going to multiply 2 times 4 and get 8. In this fraction of 3/4, the 4 becomes a 12 by multiplying times 3. So we're going to multiply 3 times 3 and get 9. Now we have fractions with common denominators. So we add 8 plus 9 and get 17 over 12. 17 over 12. Now this is an improper fraction, so we're going to divide up. We divide the numerator by the denominator. 12 goes into 17 one time, and there's a remainder of 5, and we put that over 12. So the final answer will be 1 5/12. Now let's look at adding and subtracting decimals. The key when adding and subtracting decimals is that you must line up the decimal points. It's not an option. You have to in order to get the correct answer. Here's an example. 2.34 plus 8.5. We have to line the first decimal point, or the first decimal up, in order to get the correct answer. All right, example A, we have 12.2, or 12 and 2/10, minus 2.08, or minus 2 and 8/100. So we line them up. 12.2 minus 2.08. You've noticed I've sketched in a 0 here just to be able to line our decimals up. We're going to be subtracting 8 from this 0, so we're going to make this a 10, make this 2 a 1. 10 minus 8 is 2. 1 minus 0 is 1. Put your decimal. 2 minus 2 is 0, and 1 minus 0 is 1. So your final answer is 10.12. All right, let's look at example B. We have a whole number 25 minus 0.73, or 73/100. So we're going to go ahead and write the 25 minus, and then we have 0.73. So I'm going to go ahead and add a decimal up here with 25 and put the 2 zeros to make sure we line up our decimals. And again, we're subtracting 3 from the 0 here. We're going to make this a 10 by borrowing from this one and make it a 9. But remember, if you borrow from a 0, you also have to borrow from the next number over, and we'll make that a 4. 10 minus 3 is 7. 9 minus 7 is 2. 4 minus 0 is 4. 2 minus 0 is 2. So your final answer, 24 and 27/100ths. Okay, let's look at a practice problem here. Here we have 2 2/3 plus 3 4/5. What we have here is a mixed number. Now, you could use what we know as the popcorn method to convert these to improper fractions and then add them. But what I would like to do is go ahead and separate the fractions and just add those. Let's add 2/3 plus 4/5. What we're going to do is again find the common denominator. We have 5 and 3. If you multiply 5 times 3, you get 15, and that's actually going to be our least common multiple. All right, so to turn the 3 into a 15, we multiply times 5, so we're going to do the same thing to the 2. 5 times 2 is 10. Here we're multiplying 5 times 3 to get 15, so we multiply 4 times 3 and get 12. When we add 10 plus 12, we get 22 over 15. Now, this is an improper fraction, so I'm going to divide 15 into 22, which equals 1, and then the remainder is 7 over 15. So now what you can do is you can go back to the original. We have 2 plus 3 is 5, plus 1 is 6, and then we have the fraction of 7/15. So what we did is we separated the fractions and combined them and got 1 and 7/15, and then we combined that to the whole number 2 and 3, and our final answer was 6 and 7/15. Now, our last practice problem, I've included, we have a mixed number of 2 and 1/2 plus 12 and a decimal of 0.75. So we've got fractions and decimals to work with. It would be best to make them both decimals. You should understand that 1/2 is a decimal of 0.5 or maybe 0.50. So we're going to call this 2.5 plus 12.75. Now it's just a matter of lining up our decimals so that we can combine it. 12.75 plus 2.5. If you need an add a 0 just to help you see it, that's fine. 5 plus 0 is 5. 7 plus 5 is 12. Carry the 1. 2 plus 2 is 4 plus 1 is 5. And then 1 plus 0 is 1. And your final answer is 15.25. And that is how we add and subtract rational numbers.